Hey, folks, this is a recorded show, Patriots Unite. I'm your host, John Dady. Always a lot to talk about. People are, I'll get ignored it. Anyway, a lot to talk about right now. Let's talk about our debt ceiling increase. Basically, the way I'm reading this, the Republicans have agreed to suspend the debt ceiling until 2025. Sounds like a blank check to me. Um, we should have leverage on this. We do have leverage on it, but our side isn't using it. And they keep fear mongering the people, saying that on June 5th, we're going to default on our debt. No, we're not. There's priority spending put in place. The debt and our interest will be paid just fine. On the 15th of June, we get several $100 billion just coming into the Treasury. That takes care of it. That gives us another month to come to a better deal, and we get more money coming in. Y'all think that the federal government just gets paid like they get money all the time on a regular basis. So this fear mongering is exactly what it is when they say we will default on our debt. They're talking about our interest payments on the debt. No, we're not. That won't happen because we do have a cash supply. It keeps coming in. What we do have is we spend more money than we take in. I think our deficit this last fiscal year was, well, it was a little over $1 trillion. I know that. That's a lot of money. There's not enough cuts in what the House has proposed. All that IRS should be cut, all of it, which was what, $80 billion, something like that. Huge amount of money. That should be gone. All the COVID money that hasn't been spent needs to be rebated back to help lessen the blow here. Every single penny allocated for Biden's Green New Deal crap, nope, that all must come off the table. All of it. And that's hundreds of billions of dollars on crap that doesn't work, that isn't needed. If you people think that we can run this country on solar and wind, I can't help you. You're at a level of ignorance that there's just no help for you. So it's a scheme to, well, they want to spend $50 trillion between now and 2050. $50 trillion on something that isn't necessary and will not work. You need 7.5 billion solar panels across this country to equal our power generation now, or several 100 million windmills. All those things have to be replaced every 15 to 20 years, and they're toxic and blah, 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 blah. Of course, you just read a headline or hear a blurb and you go, oh, okay. No, you have to research. So all of that needs to be part of this deal. Says, okay, great, we'll raise it. I don't like this open-ended because it says they're lifting the debt ceiling until 2025. So what is that doing to cause the Democrats to be fiscally responsible? It isn't. It's nothing. So I wish the Republicans would grow a spine and have a press conference addressing the American people, saying we're not going to default. We have money coming in to pay our debts. We can pay the debt on our interest. We can do that. It's like most of you all with a credit card payment. If you got a big enough debt, yeah, you struggle to pay just the interest payments, and you're never going to get ahead just paying the interest payments. But as long as you do that, you're not in default. It's the same way with the federal government. As long as you keep that debt interest paid, you're good. The idea is to start making more payments than just your interest. That's the idea. So they're projecting what Biden's budget. He's all over the map. I think he's wanting $7 trillion for this next fiscal year. $7 trillion. We're projected to take in just over $5 trillion. Folks, that's a $2 trillion deficit. There's nothing good about a $2 trillion deficit. I would leave, of course, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, those things out of the equation because I don't want to negatively impact somebody's health. I've been there, I know what it's like. And leave the military alone for now. Everything else, I would insist on a 10% across the board cut in the budget. Now, on the plan right now, they're asking for a reduction in growth next year at 1%. They don't need any growth. I'm a believer in zero baseline budgeting, which means every year every department has to justify every penny that they're asking from Congress. Right now, they don't do that. They just submit it, and Congress goes, "Okay, here it is." I have to stop that. So I want a 10% across the board cut in everything that I mentioned, except for those things that I mentioned. Now you're starting to make a dent in it. I want all of the Green New Deal that's passed under this imposter, none of it to be funded. Not one penny. Do you know that one of the Energy Secretary assistants, I think it was, a couple of weeks ago, he's being questioned in Congress. I forget which representative it was, but this is just hilarious. Kept asking him, okay, if we do these things, if we spend this $50 trillion in the next 20 years on Green New Deal, how much are we going to reduce greenhouse gases? You see, that's a legitimate question. And the guy goes, well, the United States is responsible for 13% of the greenhouse gas. And the representative says, that's not the question. How much are we going to reduce? If we're responsible for 13%, is that going to go down to 9%, 10%? How are we going to equate this? The guy couldn't answer the question because we're not going to make a difference. If he had said, okay, we'll reduce it by 2%, okay, think about it. How is 2% going to keep the planet from burning up like AOC says it's doing? It's not. You see, it has to be an all or nothing thing. And first of all, there's no such thing as man-made global warming, but using their premises, their false narrative. Why are we willing to destroy our economy, put our lives in this country literally at risk? Because when you cut your available power by 80%, which is what you would be doing, switching to so-called renewables, you'd only get 80% of the power generation that we're currently getting. So that means you're not going to have power. Think about this. Only 20% of the power would be generated with renewables. Do you all even think about that? Do you understand the consequences of that? Maybe you should start thinking about how this will affect you and your family. Are you willing to do without power? Because that's what they're going for. And they will convince you that you have to make these sacrifices to save the planet. Sadly, there's no shortage of people out there that believe that line of bullshit. So, us cutting 2% won't make a damn tinker's bit of difference in the whole scheme of things. But they're willing to wreck our economy, literally put people's lives in peril, because it would. When you're denying 80% of the people out there electricity, there's going to be a lot of people dying. It's just that simple. That needs to be completely defunded, and for the reasons I just said. There's never been scientific consensus on this ever. And let me give you another little fact of recent history. Those of you who just now figured out that they lied about masks, they lied about vaccine, they lied about natural immunity, they just lied about everything. Scare tactics. Most of you bought into it because you weren't smart enough to know you were being lied to. It's the same thing with man-made global warming. It's all been a lie, has always been a lie, so they can control the people. And goal, less population. But you all believe what you're told. I don't fully understand why. I really don't. Because as a person who's always been aware and who's always thought and has always done research his whole life, I can't understand people not investigating these things. When somebody tells you, well, the Earth's going to end in 10 years because of man made global warming, and you just go, oh, okay. Why? When somebody makes some absurd comment like that, you would have to, at least I do, it's like, okay, so this 90 IQ nitwit bartender is telling us the world's about to end unless we destroy our economy. Okay. There was another global warming guy who's against it. There's no such thing. Great Britain is doing its level best to neuter itself, to kill its economy, and kill off God only knows how many millions of their own people. They produce, you ready for this? 2% of the worldwide total of greenhouse gases. 2%. So if the whole island of Great Britain sunk into the ocean tomorrow, it won't make any difference. Yet the people in Great Britain are just as ignorant and stupid and intellectually lazy as our people are. They have no clue. They think if they make all these, oh my God, we've saved the world. No, you don't. The goal here isn't to save the world from man-made global warming. The goal is to gain control over the world's population, food supply, all of it, using the fear tactics of man-made global warming. Well, if we don't cut all this, we all die. That's what you're being told, and you believe it. So they did the same thing with COVID because they know that the whole world is still so uneducated and woefully ignorant on man-made global warming. They think, well, hell, we got them fooled on this one. We have for 30 years. So let's just keep it on with the COVID thing. Same strategy, same technique, same everything. And sadly, most of you bought into it. Just so sad and disappointing. If you guys had any survival instincts, they should have kicked in by now. So I wish you all would call your representatives and tell them no. It's a no vote on this bill. It doesn't do enough. It doesn't stop the hemorrhaging. It still allows for deficits to be ran. You can't run your household that way, can you? What makes you think you can run a country this way? You can't. Now we have millions of more illegals coming in. Do you all have any idea how much money they take out of the economy? They send $134 billion per year, the illegals do, back to countries where they came from. I would love to see a tax put on that. Every Western Union telegram, because most of it's done by Western Union, every transfer of Western Union that goes out of this country needs to have at least a 15% tax on it. Minimal. So let's recapture some of that money, and that money would go for us, not illegals. They cost us right now about almost $300 million a year. And it's going to get worse. It's more than that. Schools getting flooded. The emergency services, like emergency rooms, they use emergency rooms for their doctors. They go in, they don't pay the bill. They have to be, addressed medically speaking is the law. And then who do you think the hospitals pass that loss on to? People with insurance. Mm-hmm. And then your insurance rates go up. Housing is a huge thing. I guess in some places they've tried to remove veterans to put illegals in. Are you kidding me? Folks, this is how the demon crap party works. They don't give a rat's ass about you. They care about these illegals they're bringing in that we have to support, that they do not pay into the Social Security system. You want to know why? They're not here legally to get a Social Security card to pay into the system. And then again, they take hundreds of millions of dollars per year out of our local economies. Instead of spending it here or saving it here, they send it back to their third world shithole. Now let's talk about amnesty. They don't get any amnesty in my world. They're not here legally. They didn't enter legally. And they should be nothing but rounded up and sent back. So that needs to be in our budget negotiations. No more money until these things are done. The American people would support that. Now, most of you Democrats won't, because I don't care what you think, because you're never wrong. You're never right about anything. You're always wrong. But the rest of us who are thinking, this is what we need to be telling Congress. No money, nothing until these things are done, because you're killing our country. You're bankrupting us, not just financially, but morally. And our society we won't even be America anymore. We might as well be called the United States of Mexico. Okay? Mexican culture, if you've never been there, I mean to the real Mexico, not to the resort areas. If you've ever been to the real Mexico, like I have, they have nothing in common with us. Literally nothing. I don't want that here. Our society is completely different than their society. So I don't want to have their attitudes, their mores brought here. I've seen a lot of nasty things in Mexico over the years. And by God, I don't want it here. But it's coming. And some of y'all might think, oh, well, that's racist or whatever. No, it isn't. It's just true. It's called the human freaking condition. Okay? The human condition. We all are different. Our environment, your surroundings, I'm not talking the CO2, I'm talking your environment in which you're raised and which you live, affects you, obviously. Each society is formed a little differently, structurally, spiritually, and so on. We are not the same society as people coming out of Mexico or Central America or anywhere else in the world for that matter. We are a unique experience. We come from all kinds of places around the world, but we came here legally. We assimilated. Yes, we still honored and practiced our own individual cultures, but we assimilated it to one group of people called a melting pot, which means you all get together and you share in same values and respect the differences. But the problem is that we have right now is people coming in here, they don't give a rat's ass. They're here to make some money, take what they can get, and, well, destroy this country. This is their mission. Why do you think there's so many military age single men coming over? You think they're not going to be serving somebody's purpose? Yeah, they will be. They absolutely will be. The enemy is here. It's in the Democrat Party. And the enemy they're allowing in. You think they're not going to be doing the bidding of the Democrats? I guarantee you they will. So, I know it's a lot of information. I get accused of saying too much information at a time, but this is how I am. You can always watch it again later. I want you to do research. So now let's talk about Target. Really? I stopped going to Target years ago when they started allowing men who identify as women to go into the women's restrooms and changing rooms. Just stop. And I went in there. I used to love to go there. And I told the manager of the store, says, I'm in here every month. I'd probably spend $500 or $600 a month in here, but says, I'm done. And she said, why? And I told her. She said, well, I'm sorry you feel that way. And I said, I'm sorry you're behaving this way. I'm sorry that you're putting women and young girls at risk to sexual predators, which is what they did. So now that, Pride Month. Oh, really? So they're willing to literally cost their companies billions to appease the leftists, to make sure that they have a good ESG score, when their duties as a public company, as a company that's traded on the stock exchange, who has investors, their duty to their investors is fiduciary. So when they're doing these things like this, they're violating their responsibility, their financial responsibility to their investors. What company was down? Disney is down as lowest it's been in 6 years. They're screwing the people who bought their stocks, whether it's an individual or an institutional investor, with their attitudes. Target's the same thing. They've lost $10 billion in 10 days. Bud Light, literally, they can't give this stuff away. I was watching a piece the other day where, because I don't buy beer because it's nasty. But I guess it was a case of beer for $15. And then you had an automatic $15 rebate. In other words, free beer. They literally can't give this stuff away. Keep it up. As some of you may know, I've been advocating for more years, but since I started this podcast and since I ran for office last year, we must speak with our money. And we're trying to do it, but we're not doing it in an organized, targeted fashion. And by that, I mean tens of millions of us directing our funds, removing our money from certain entities like media corporations. I've explained this before, like the AT&Ts of the world, the direct satellite, dish satellite, all cable companies. They're all against us. They all own these mega corporations, these news outlets that lie about the right, lie for the left, and cause all this division and hate. They need to be put out of business. You want to target something. Yeah, Target, the store, and now Kohl's, and now Bud. They are a symptom of what's going on. The real target should be the mainstream media, like I just explained it. You need to put them out of business. I don't want to hear any excuses about it. You have no reason to keep sending your money to them. I don't want to hear about, oh, well, I need this for this cable show, whatever. I don't care. Are you putting some stupid show or some sporting event above your freedom? Are you that damn stupid, that petty? Because I've heard from a lot of people saying, well, I have it for this, and I don't watch those shows, so I'm not supporting those. You're supporting them when you send them money. You don't have to watch the damn shows in order to be supporting them, because your check goes there and part of your money goes to pay carriage fees for most of those shows. So you are, in fact, supporting them, whether you watch it or not. Stop it. Stop being useful idiots. Stop being tools of the left. We can own these people. We can shut them down next week if we stop sending en masse, like I said, united, organized, and targeted. Hit these industries, this mass media conglomerate, and shut them down. We have plenty of other ways to communicate. We've got Getter, we've got Rumble, we got Truth. Twitter's a little better. So we have ways to communicate. And those companies aren't out there lying about us and lying for the demons. Those are the ones we should be supporting. the Newsmaxes of the world and the OAN, things like that. We have plenty of ways to communicate without funding the very organizations that stand opposed against us. So I don't understand why you haven't connected those dots. It's real simple. I know for years our side is saying, "Oh well, we don't boycott. That's not fair." The hell it isn't. Um, the left has no problem canceling us, zero, and they just laugh their ass off. Man, those people on the right, they're never going to figure it out. They just keep spending with us, and we just keep using the money against them, and with our power that money provides, and we can do whatever we want to them, and they do, and we just take it. Well, as long as a bully knows he's not going to get hit back, they're going to keep being a bully. It's time to hit him back, and hit him back hard, really hard. You take out the command, control, and communications, which is the media, which is those entities I just explained to you. Those are the ones you take out with your money. Target and the rest of them, that's small. That's great. That's wonderful. But you really want to make an impact, you take out the mouthpiece for the Democrat Party. You shut them down. And I know you people out there, oh, well, somebody else will just come along and do the same thing. Really? Those of you who think that know nothing about business. So I'm going to explain something to you. Should the people do what I've been suggesting, and we take down these media conglomerates, I promise you, no one else is going to spend billions of dollars to build an empire of communications, knowing that if they get out of line, the people will stop subscribing to their media. No one's going to do that. But we must act first. We must act decisively. We must do this before they digitize the currency. Once that happens, no. Because then if you do this then they'll say, well, we're going to punish you because you canceled your Spectrum or your Dish or your DirecTV. So we're going to take money out of your account till you sign up again, or we'll just pay it for you. You have to do it now, folks. They'll never see it coming. And I'm tired of everybody I talk to, your negative knee-jerk reaction. As soon as I say that, well, that would never work. Well, if you only got a few million people, but if you got 10 million, 20, 30, every so-called Trump supporter, 74 million of us, most of you still send money to one or more of these outlets every month. Stop it. Put them out of business. It's never been more complicated than that. There's two things the left wants from us. Two. Our silence and our money. That's it. And deprive them of both at the same time. This can be done. It must be done. To me, it's just how you fight back. It's like, okay, I don't like what you're doing as an organization in the media. I don't like it. You reinforce the indoctrination of half the people in this country every day by continuing to lie to people that are already not very bright, that have been completely and fully indoctrinated. You keep them hating through their ignorance every day. The more ignorant a person is, more likely they are to be hateful. It's just how the human condition is. The people on the left, they say that we're loving. No, you're not. You're the meanest people ever on this planet. Because if we don't agree with your transgender or gay stuff or whatever, anything that you said that we must agree with, then you attack us, you cancel us, you persecute us. No, that's not being nice. See, me as a conservative, I don't care what you do in your private lives. I just never have. But damn you, you don't have the right to tell me what I must agree to, agree with, or promote. And if I don't do that, there's something wrong with me. You don't get to do that. Okay? Because I'm not the deficient person here. People who promote abortion, people who promote mutilating Johnny or Janie, you're the problem, not me. So, and I don't have a problem calling you all out because you cannot defend your positions. I can defend mine. And I need more of you all to join me in defending our positions. We can't look at the left as, oh, well, they mean well. They're just, wrong. No, they don't mean well. See, they like to keep you all believing, well, they're still one of us. They're still Americans and they care. They're just, they mean well, but, they're doing things. No, they're not. They're willfully, deliberately doing these things. They've been planning this stuff for decades, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. And look where we're at now. Because our side didn't take them seriously. We didn't argue about it. We didn't stop them. So the longer you wait to strike back, the harder it is. It can be done, but it will take more in mass. It's like somebody's got to lead. Somebody's got to be the first person, right? Then when the second person gets out there, and they go, oh, well, I mean, we've all been to events, right? And whether it has to do with singing or dancing or something, and everybody's sitting around and nobody's out on that dance floor. I've seen this a lot. And finally, somebody gets out there, then that second person, then the third, the fourth. Because now it's that human condition. It's, safety in numbers. They're not just looking at me. There's everybody involved. Same thing with how you run a damn country. The same way you fight back. There is safety in numbers. I am so tired of these patriots I talk to. So, well, they'll come after me. Really? If you're an individual, yes, you're right. There's tens of millions of you. Just exactly what are they going to do to you? What are they going to do? Nothing. They can't. Once you raise up and you strike back and you defund these people and more, they'll be afraid. And they will more than likely back off. If they don't, hit them again. Just keep it up. Trump can't do it all. He needs to see his 74 million people actually being active and doing things like what I'm suggesting to you. I mean, if Trump would come out tomorrow and suggest doing things that I've been suggesting forever and a day, I don't know, maybe y'all would do it then. I don't know. But this is an all hands on deck situation, people. Satan is kicking our ass, and it has been for a very long time. And I'm quite frankly tired of it. I'm one person trying to motivate others. We have no real leadership in this country. If we did, our side would have already been saying these things a long damn time ago. Instead, they fundraise off of it. They sell books on it. They get clicks on their websites and whatnot. Instead of saying, okay, let's put all this aside right now. Let's join together as one. Let's rally our troops and let's stop this stuff. We're not doing it. And that will be the death of our country. If we refuse to do anything other than show up and vote every few years, we're done. So, and you know how I feel about these elections. They're still being held illegally. Federal elections have 1 day for elections. Not 4 weeks, not 6 weeks. Mail-in voting is illegal. early in-person voting, which you're saying, well, it's early in-person absentee. No, you're splitting hairs on that one. We've always had absentee for people who are out of country, in the hospital, whatever, within like 7 to 10 days of the election, not 4 weeks. A lot of shit happens in the last 30 days of an election, people. And if you cast your vote for Joe Blow and then Joe Blow you find out is a communist spy or a sympathizer like Joe Biden, it's a little late then to take your vote back, isn't it? Yeah, you're not going to do it. You're not going to be able to do it. So this is why we have an election day. There's many reasons why in 1845 Congress created an election day and why. Mail-in ballots is in violation of federal election law. So is early in-person voting. It isn't legal. Nothing has been changed. Nobody has enforced this law. The law was never changed to allow early voting. We used to have early voting in this country. Our election season and federal elections lasted about 6 weeks. No, y'all didn't know that, did you? State can vote anytime within the first, I think, 6 weeks of the second Wednesday of December. Then we get in the mid-1840s. Communications are getting better, more reliable, faster. And they realize, wait a minute, these states that are voting early are influencing the states that haven't voted yet because we already know how they're voting. So it's a disincentive to vote if your candidate's losing in the states that voted early. You're like, screw it, you can't win. So it was a problem. And it allowed for a lot of fraud. You should read the history of this and why it was required, why it became necessary to have a voting day, not a voting week. These states have gone back to having early voting, which is illegal. The law was never changed to allow the elections to be on any day but one. Don't believe me, that's fine. Look it up. Once you Google or go to DuckDuckGo and says, when are federal elections to be held? Then you'll find out. I'm not lying to you. I'm not wrong. And our people, our states, our attorney generals, our secretary of states, and our red states, they're not enforcing that law. I don't know why. Now, most people I've talked to, in fact, I haven't talked to anybody who's an attorney or a politician who even knows about this federal election law. I was really surprised here. Wow. I research. That's how come I learn a lot of things. And I guess a lot of people just take things for granted. Well, we have it on this date because it's tradition. No, that's not why we have it on that date. There's legitimate reasons why it's on that date. So we're still going to be holding federal elections illegally in 2024. Those states that hold their elections illegally disenfranchise the states to vote legally because they're just loaded with fraud. Chain of custody on those mail-in ballots. If you don't know what chain of custody is, look it up. Can't explain it to you. I've dealt with chain of custody in the job I've been doing for 20 years. So when you don't have chain of custody, you can't prove where it came from. You can't prove who was responsible for the process. And there isn't one. The chain of custody is lax to non-existence. We don't know where those votes came from. We don't know where those ballots came from. They just show up. They send mail-out ballots to vacant lots. That's true. With 30 or 40 people living there in a vacant lot. Yeah, and one address. What the hell do you think is done with those things? The Democrat Party put those people into a system either by thin air, whatever process, it doesn't matter. So if they send out a mail-in ballot to XYZ address that shows 40 people live there, Democrats can now vote for those 40 people. And it's all going to be Democrat votes. Every one of them. That's how they do it. There's no accountability. There's no chain of custody. And then the Democrats fight us because we want the voter rolls cleaned up. Because they need a lot of dead people and a lot of people who have moved out of their district, moved out of their state. They need them on the rolls so the Democrat Party can still vote for them. Okay. And with these mail-in ballots, they mail them out to this address, knowing full well that that person doesn't live there anymore or has died. And they're not eligible to vote because they moved out of state or out of district, or of course they're dead, but they send them out anyway. Okay. Or allegedly they claim they send them out. And then they vote for those people. That's how they do it. It's the main way they do it. This is why even the Democrats, as recently as 7 or 8 years ago, were railing against mail-in ballots. Because what I just said. They can't win an election without them. They can't win an election without violating federal election laws, and you all are just letting them. It'd be nice if you start calling your Secretary of States and your Attorney Generals in your state to question them about why. Why are they doing it, or why are they allowing other states to do it? Because it affects all of us. So that's kind of where I'm at today on things. I'm trying to cover a lot of things. Maybe I shouldn't. But feedback is always appreciated. I'm on Facebook at Patriots Unite, your host, John Dady. I'm there. And so you can reach out to me, contact me at that location on Facebook. So I hope you all have a good rest of the day and had a good Memorial weekend. At least I hope you had a meaningful Memorial weekend. And let's pray to God for guidance, and then get off your knees and let's start fighting back as one against Satan and his Democrat Party. Have a good day.